your stress is impacting your gains and your body composition goals more than you freaking know. Let's talk about it. So this video is going to be all about stress and the impact that it can have on our training, on our fat loss, on our body composition goals. Full disclaimer, speaking on stress management is not a topic that I necessarily have quite mastered yet. Like in terms of being able to explain to you like biologically what is happening so you understand like the mechanisms behind it. I can't do all of that. I can't bring you the cold hard facts. Okay? But what I can bring you is my own experience, how I noticed stress has impacted my fitness goals in the gym, how I've noticed that learning how to manage my stress has transformed my results in the gym as well as my life, if I'm being completely honest. So yeah, I want to explain to you how I did it, how I learned that it was a problem, and then practical things that I actually did to begin to learn how to manage my stress. And then also, of course, I will be talking about the books that helped me because I'm nobody if not for my self-help books. So who was I before I learned how to manage my stress? Before I learned how to manage my stress, I was struggling with like puffiness and bloating. Like you could see it in my face, bro. Like I was never very unhealthily overweight, but I was just fluffy, as I think the word for it. Like I didn't have a shape that I was proud of. And at that time, before I understood like body neutrality and before I was able to detach my self-worth from my appearance, I obsessed a lot about how much I hated how I looked. I obsessed a lot over my productivity in college specifically. I was such a high achieving, high performing smarty pants, and it was fully my identity. I put all of my self-worth in my accomplishments, okay? I experienced things like acne. I would put pictures of me when I had acne. I had really weird poops. It felt like I was constantly like bloated and watery. I experienced a lot of anxiety and stress in my life. And now at the time, I didn't really know how to pinpoint what that stress was. I didn't really understand what anxiety was. I just know that my thoughts were always racing and that I was always thinking about the next thing that I had to do. Especially in college, I was in a circle of like a lot of high achieving college kids. And I was looking around and I was like, bro, why does it feel like we're all trying to like out fuck each other? Like study each other, like who can go with the least amount of sleep, who can do the most, like the absolute most, who can suffer the most to kind of like prove your commitment and how hard you are working. It was very toxic, but just to constantly feel like if I don't do this and if I don't do better and if I don't do more and I have to do more and why am I not doing more and I'm not good enough and oh my God, I fucked that up. You know what I mean? Like those were the thoughts in my mind constantly. I was also experiencing a lot of burnout. I didn't have like a full-blown long-term depression, but for like a year or two of my life, I noticed that everything that I did, I met it with a lot of resistance. Like, everything was a chore. I was dragging my feet. Getting up, like waking up the next day was like dreadful. Like I was dreading the start of my day, you know? And I noticed I would also have like periods of high productivity followed by a crash. So I was very like up and down energy-wise, mood-wise. Like those people who are like, you get like a surge of energy in the middle of the night and you like reorganize your room. That was kind of like what my life felt like. It was like resistance, burst of I need to get my shit together, and then it wouldn't last. You know what I mean? Like I said, I felt like I was on a fucking roller coaster ride. And so I was feeling all of this happening, and then I started kind of like my healing journey. I read a couple self-help books, and that's kind of what prompted, fast forward, right? What prompted beginning to heal my binge eating disorder, beginning to stop and kind of like ask questions like, is this really what I want for my life. And then I started working out consistently for the first time from a place of self-love and self-care. And I started addressing my food rules and stuff like that. And so let's fast forward, I'm 6 months into my fitness journey now, right? And at this point, I'm eating well and moving my body, but I still look and feel puffy. I'm still watery. And what I noticed was I had taken my grip in one area of my life, right, which was college. And then I dropped out of college. I changed my career path, I changed my life. But that grip, I took it from over here, bro, and I brought it over here. And now I was tightly gripping. Okay, I'm not tightly gripping my eating disorder anymore, but now I'm tightly gripping onto self-help. I'm tightly gripping onto self-improvement. So I took all of my anxieties, right, and I just, okay, fuck ton of anxiety about school and performing well at school. Now it came over here. Fuck ton of anxiety around building my business. Do I have enough clients? And I'm not doing enough. And I need to be doing more. I need to be making more content. And I need to be marketing myself better. Do you see the trend here? So it wasn't necessarily the schooling that was the problem. Bitch, I was the problem. You know what I mean? There was a fundamentally something wrong with the way that I was perceiving the stressors in my life, the way that I was perceiving myself and who I was and how I needed to be navigating my life. Everything that I was doing was coming from a place of self-judgment, lots of pressure, this feeling that I was never good enough, that I needed to do more, that I needed to be more, you know what I mean? And I was chasing this thing, and you know what I mean? And I felt like I was drowning, I couldn't grasp it. I could never be smart enough. I could never work hard enough. Nothing ever was good enough. And it was just this blame game. If only I could be better at this. If only I could work out harder. If only I could be more disciplined. If only I could be more focused. It's fucking exhausting. And I was like, bro, there's got to be another way. Is this what life is? What's wrong with me? Right? And it felt like the more I forced and coerced myself into doing these things, it seemed like the more my body resisted, the more pressure I put on myself to perform well in my business. It felt like the more I resented my business. And I was questioning my identity. Okay, I'm not good at school anymore, but now I'm not even good at this new thing that I literally left school to do and become. Does that make sense? Do you hear the anxiety? Oh, I'm getting flashbacks. So I started hearing about stress. Social media. Thank God for social media. There's a lot of shit in social media that I dislike, but there's a lot of good in it too, because I've learned a lot of things through the ideas that I've been able to access because of social media. And I started hearing people say how stress could be getting in the way of my fat loss. And obsessing over the number on the scale could really be getting in the way of your fat loss. And I was like, okay. Stress could be causing you to self-sabotage yourself. And then I started learning, what is self-sabotage? I started learning about the psychology of habit change. What? I'm self-sabotaging? My uptightness and my perfectionism and my inability to rest is low-key a form of self-sabotage? Okay, weird. I started learning that maybe stress was paralyzing me, that maybe my body was stuck in a constant state of, it wasn't fight or flight, it was freeze. I think I'm a freezer. Self-judging, punitive. I'm very punitive towards myself. You know what I mean? I will punish myself. I will dwell on things. I will ruminate. I'm a ruminator. You know what I mean? And I think in the past I would have called myself a people pleaser, someone who can't say no, someone who can't say what I actually feel or think, and then I resent people for it. I push people away type of things. You know what I mean? I was very much a victim of my own story. I started hearing about maybe how stressing and obsessing over productivity was making me less productive. So not allowing myself to rest was making me less productive. So I was hearing these ideas, right, that maybe the reason why I felt exhausted all the time was because I didn't allow myself to rest. I actually had a friend at the time who recommended this book to me called In the Flow. And it was about understanding, this was kind of the start, I think, of the cycle syncing era, which I don't agree. I don't put my stamp of approval, I should say, wholeheartedly behind everything that the cycle syncing people on the internet are saying. But I think there is truth to the fact that in life, our body will ebb. What is it? It has ebbs and flows. We have peaks and valleys. And I think our nature as human beings is to like reject the valleys and almost feel like they are burdens. And I had to reframe and learn that maybe the valleys were necessary for evolving into the person that I'm becoming. Maybe the valleys are necessary for the peaks to have meaning, right? Maybe the valleys are necessary to carry me to the next phase, the next era of my life. And so this book was teaching me about these peaks and valleys, not only in life, but like in our natural hormonal female cycle. I think there's a lot of truth. Granted, I think there's more that needs to be studied, but I think there's a lot of truth in the fact that it seems like my body, it operates cyclically. It feels like my mood and my energy is cyclical. I can associate moods and energy levels to different points in my female cycle. And so instead of resisting my valleys, I started to welcome my valleys. I started to nurture my valleys. Does that make sense? Like when I was having a low energy day, instead of judging myself for having a low energy day, I just accepted that I was having a low energy day. And I would adjust my day to accommodate and nurture my body in that way. If I needed more rest, I gave myself more rest. And so I started leaning into that. And bro, it started working. So yeah, it started working. Like I was obsessing over the scale, obsessing over my nutrition, and obsessing over my training. You know, I think a lot of people who have a history of an eating disorder, they kind of do that. They like I said, they just take their control from one side and then they kind of like gaslight themselves into believing that they're doing something productive. Like, okay, I'm no longer trying to shrink myself, you know, and you like try to make yourself believe that. But then you still have like extreme control over your nutrition, extreme control over your training. You feel so much anxiety when you skip a day in the gym. I noticed that. I was like, bro, why do I feel like I'm not seeing results? Why do I feel like it's taking so long? And I remember I was having a conversation with a client of mine, and I was kind of like opening up to her and telling her how hard it still was for me in my body. Her name is Santana, by the way. Santana, if you're watching this, I freaking love you. She was one of the OG Strong Girls from Strong Girls Fitness Club 1.0 back in my mom's basement. Okay, this is Strong Girls Club 2.0. And she was like, Marina, you're doing all the things. Relax. Let go. Like, why are you so hard on yourself? Like, why are you trying to do more, go harder, faster, stronger? Be patient. Let it flow, do the work, and then let go. And I swear to God, bro, it was just like a switch. And I was like, what happens if I just let go? I keep checking my boxes, but I no longer ruminate. I try my best not to dwell. I let go of my physical appearance, and I just do the work. And I've noticed that I've gotten the best results ever. Like it's like immediately my body like shrunk. My inflammation went down. I started to look better. I started to feel better. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw beauty in myself rather than just like nitpicking all the things that I hated. And I feel like that's when my progress in the gym started to skyrocket. Okay. So that's my personal anecdote. If you want to, there are books that you can read that like dive into this stuff, that explains the role of stress in the body. And bitch, if you're on social media right now, you're most likely hearing the word cortisol being thrown around and how everybody's like, oh my God, cortisol, like being stressed makes you fat. Like I think, again, a lot of those people don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but there's a lot of truth in the fact that mentally, when you are doing everything like, you know what I mean? In this like uptight, controlling way, and like every bump in the road literally makes you want to like fucking die because you're freaking the fuck out. Like that is no way to live your life. Like, yeah, I just learned that to trust the process, check my boxes. Oh, that rhymed. We're doing fucking poetry out here. And I don't know, I've been able to find a lot more joy. I feel like my results have been the best they've ever been. I feel like I look the best I've ever looked. And most importantly, it revolutionized my relationship to the scale, to food, and to my body. And what I mean by that is when you're not so anxious about the outcome, I was able to not self-sabotage with food. So like before, immediately when I entered a cut, I could have lowered my calories by like 100 calories. It was almost like my body immediately felt restricted and I immediately felt hungry as shit. And when I was able to finally heal that part of myself, I no longer felt that scarcity, like that fear, that tension around food. And I was finally able to relax into a fat loss phase, detached from the outcome, detached from my body looking a certain way, you know? And now I'm not a freak when I'm able to carry out a fat loss phase and not freak the fuck out. You know what I mean? Feeling like I'm starving myself again. Our bodies respond to psychological and physical stressors in the same way. So if you're experiencing stress from maybe a toxic relationship, if you're experiencing stress from constant negative body image, if you're experiencing stress because you're eating a lot of processed food, if you're experiencing a lot of work stress, like work and performing at work gives you a lot of anxiety, your body is processing that stressor, even though it's psychological, even though it's in here, it's processing it the same way that it responds to like a fucking, when you work out, that's a stressor. When you eat like shit, that's a stressor. When you get a sunburn, bitch, that's a stressor. When you feel cold, that's a stressor. When you're not getting enough sleep, that's a stressor. So if you have all of these things in your life that are just piling stress upon stress upon stress upon stress, and then you're telling me that you want to add another stressor on top of that in the form of a caloric deficit, famine, bitch, and you think it's going to go well? No, you know what I mean? It's almost like we set ourselves up to fail. So I'll get clients, bro, and they come in. Obviously, every client that works with the coach, the first thing they're going to do is, I want to lose fat as quickly as possible right now. Give me what I want right now. And I'm like, girl, you literally sleep 5 hours a night. You binge drink on the weekends. You literally have one meal a day, and it's an iced coffee in the morning, and then you have fucking Chick-fil-A at night for dinner, or fucking ramen noodles. You're sedentary because you work from home and you don't leave the house. You don't even have a consistent training schedule. Basically, none of your health foundation is there. Your body is literally like, ah. And the first thing you want to do is add another stressor on top. I'm like, no, girl, we have to get your mind right. We have to get your body right. We have to learn how to manage all those stressors first, and then we can address the fat loss. And the truth is, like, we're a stressed out society. Like, stress is killing us. You know what I mean? Like, do you know a single person who's just like not stressed as fuck? And maybe you're one of those people who you sit there and you're like, I'm not stressed. What are you talking about? But your body is telling us a different story. You grew up experiencing the stress. This is like generational stress, bro. Whether it be financial, whether you grew up with emotionally unintelligent parents and you don't know how to be, you know what I mean, like an emotionally intelligent adult. These are stressors. And you don't know that they're stressors because it's just been what you've known. You don't even realize that there is a world where your thoughts aren't running all the time. Like, there is a world where you can kind of like just sit there and enjoy sitting still. Not only that, but there was this one study. I was watching a 3DMJ video. I was watching Dr. Eric Helms, because I did do a little bit of research for this, okay? I didn't do my own research and then I read the primary source, but I did read the secondary source, okay? I did watch YouTube videos from people who are smarter than me. And he said there was this one study. So they had like test subjects, individuals, and they had them fill out like a stress survey so they could like gauge the perceived stressors in these people's lives. And then they asked these individuals to carry out a strength program for the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. I'm sure there was other things thrown in there. But what they found at the end was that people who perceived their lives to be more stressful made less strength gains in the squat and in the bench press, bro. Isn't that crazy? And that's just one study. Like, I'm not even talking about the studies that are drawing connections between your IBS and stress. The fact that your anxiety can be the reason why your digestion is fucking dog shit. Same with acne. Whenever I have like a stress flare, my life is just particularly a little bit more stressful for whatever reason, I'll get more outbreaks. Or my poop will be weird. I swear to God, bro, I can't make this shit up. Because when you're in a state of stress, chronic stress on the body, your body's in a state of fight or flight, right? Going back to that original point, our bodies respond to psychological and physical stressors in the same way. So a physical stressor, if you're being chased by a lion, right, your body is going to divert energy that it was using to digest your food to fucking sprint, bitch. It's going to put all of its energy towards your endorphins. So instead of putting energy towards your digestion, towards keeping your skin clear, towards growing your muscles, your body's putting all of its energy to your heartbeat to try and keep you alive. You know what I mean? That's me trying to explain the science-based stuff. Not very well. But here are some books that I have read or they're on my reading list. I've read Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. This book kind of like breaks down stress in the body. The Mindful Path of Self-Compassion I'm reading right now, and it's just teaching me how to fucking meditate, bitch. It's teaching me how to be mindful and in the moment and in the present. Why We Sleep, I started reading it. The Courage to Be Disliked, I bought it and I haven't started reading it. And then The Psychology of Money, I started reading it. So yeah, these books are all asking me to question what I've come to learn about money, about stress, about relationships, about life, and kind of showing me a world that I never knew. Okay, Marina, tell me what the fuck you did, bitch. Shut up. So, things I began learning and unlearning. For one, basically the single thing that I did that helped me stop my binge eating more than anything else was learning how to pause and how to observe my feelings and my emotions as a third person, almost like an out-of-body situation. So when I would feel the desire to binge, instead of judging myself for feeling that desire, right? Telling myself these stories of, what the fuck, not again, like I'm such a worthless piece of shit. Bro, why do I, you know what I mean? And meeting that emotion with more pain, I would pause and be like, I notice I'm feeling a need to binge right now. I wonder why. And you just kind of like get curious and you start observing. And I would just delay the binge and then I would allow myself to binge without judgment. It was that pause and that observing and that acceptance of what I was feeling that helped me stop feeling the need to binge. Because whether I liked it or not, binging was fulfilling a need in my body. It was soothing me to an extent. It was providing my body with something that it needed, right? That soothing, maybe it was a form of meditation, right? Because you kind of get lost in the binge. It's a moment in time where you don't have to think or feel and you can just be. And so I started learning how to cultivate that environment for myself at all times, where I just accept what I'm feeling and I just let myself be for a second. Maybe I don't have to be better. Maybe I don't have to do more. Like, what if I'm just enough? Crazy. That was really hard. But the more I've practiced, the better I've gotten. And that's not to say that I don't still struggle with this, girl. Like, don't worry. Like, I'm still struggling. I'm still stressed. Getting better at asking myself what I wanted to do. Like, a lot of what made me dread waking up in the morning was telling myself the story that I wasn't in control of my life. I couldn't choose my life. So, I have to go to work. I have to go to the gym. Like, no, bitch. This is the life that you are choosing. Accept it. So once I started to accept that in life, there are always going to be commitments that I don't necessarily want to do, but just choosing gratitude anyways. Like, if I really stop to think about it, Bitch, I'm a fucking online coach who can work from anywhere in the world, and my job is to help people feel better in their lives. From the outside looking in, that sounds pretty good, you know? It's like the human condition, bro. It's almost like we look for suffering. Does that make sense? It's like the only thing that we know for certain is that suffering will be felt. So it's almost like we seek it out, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's almost like we seek out the suffering before the suffering finds us. You know what I mean? It's almost like we want to be able to control the type of suffering that we feel. So little things like that, asking myself what I wanted to do. Like the shit on TikTok, romanticizing your life, right? So like, it was my lunch break. Instead of just scarfing my lunch down, I'm going to sit outside in the sun and have my lunch. And you start looking for the joy in the little moments, bro. That shit is magical. I do that to this day. I'll sit outside to have my lunch because it feels so good. How lucky am I, bro, that I get to sit outside and feel the warmth of the sun on my skin. It feels so good while I'm having my delicious lunch, bro. What an experience. And I put there eating outside. What else? Journaling, bro. Huge. I know for a fact there's studies out there that talk about the importance of externalizing your emotions. Like putting what you're feeling into words on a piece of paper. It almost like validates what you're feeling. You know what I mean? That's why we love music, bro. That's why we love poetry. We love when another human being finds a way to perfectly describe to you what it is that you're feeling. It's fucking healing. When I was going through heartbreak, bro, I had a heartbreak playlist that I would listen to. And it was so amazing to just allow myself to feel the pain. Oh my God, why am I literally philosophizing right now? But you know what I mean, bitch. Journaling, amazing. Still do it to this day. In fact, when I'm feeling resistance in my life, that's when I lean into journaling the most because it helps me make sense of what it is that my body is trying to tell me, bro. When I'm like resisting my work, it's usually telling me that I need to pivot. Something needs to change. Something needs to evolve in the way that I'm conducting my life, my business, my career, whatever, my relationships, that allows me to grow. So I used to kind of like cower away from my negative feelings, my lower vibrational feelings. Now I'm better at pausing and observing them instead of ignoring them or judging myself for feeling them. Fuck, I'm sad again, bitch. Like, you know, some days you just wake up kind of like sad. Instead of being like, fuck, I'm sad, like everything's wrong, what's happening, and you start questioning everything, I just acknowledge, I'm noticing that my mood is a bit lower today. What could that be? How could I honor that sensation in my body? Completely different life experience when you do it that way. Bubble baths. I used to schedule in bubble baths at the start of like my stress management journey, leaning into rest rather than resisting it. I'll come back to the leaning into rest rather than resisting it. I'll come back to that one. It's in the next slide. I've been consuming a lot of information, hearing a lot about meditation, and I'm becoming more and more convinced that this is a practice that I think that I would like to apply in my own life. I think there is a lot of power in, again, pausing, observing, and allowing yourself to just be. Accepting the emotion that you're feeling without feeling like you need to stuff it down. I like practiced the other day. I was feeling like a lot of pent up, like tightness, anxiety. I was feeling rushed and anxious one day on my way to work. And I literally did a meditation. I put on a 10-minute meditation audio on Spotify, like a random one. I didn't like the lady's voice. It was kind of annoying, but that's the one that I picked. And I just meditated on my way to work. There was another day that I got to work like 15 minutes early, and then I set a timer on my phone for 10 minutes, and I just closed my eyes, bro, and I literally, swear to God, like a crazy person, I meditated in my car, and I just focused on my breath, and I allowed my thoughts to do what they were doing. I didn't judge myself when I started thinking. I would just gently return back to my breath. And I remember there was somebody in a car next to me, and I was like, bro, these motherfuckers are probably watching me. But I just let it be. And I meditated for 10 minutes. I swear to God, just me talking like this is already making me feel calmer and more at peace. So that's something that I'm throwing in there. I haven't yet started the practice, but I would like to. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. That's literally, it's fancy words for pausing and observing. Pausing, observing, and asking questions from a place of curiosity and not from a place of judgment. That's interesting. I'm looking in the mirror today and I'm feeling very negative in my body. I wonder why that is. I wonder if that's true. Maybe it's not true because yesterday I looked in the mirror and I felt really good about my body. So what could have possibly changed from one day to the next if not my mind and the way that I'm perceiving myself? You see what I mean? I literally just talked myself through what I was feeling. And so instead of letting this emotion consume me, I feel like shit. My progress, nothing is working. Everything is shit. I'm just going to give up. No, you're not giving yourself to this emotion. You're welcoming the emotion. You're accepting it for what it is. And you're not letting it overruling you. You're simply letting it pass through you. A momentary awareness, a visitor. Okay? So yeah, those are the primary things that I've done to unlearn toxic productivity. How do I know the difference between needing rest versus being lazy as fuck? Consider the idea that we are not lazy. We simply are feeling a resistance to doing the thing. So back in the day, I would be like, fuck, bro, I'm so lazy. There's something wrong with me. Now, when there's something that I know that is in alignment with who I want to become, that is a required thing that I need to do in order to become who I want to become, if I'm feeling a resistance to it, instead of judging myself and being mean to myself for not being able to do that thing, I pause and I observe and I start asking myself what it is that I'm truly feeling. What is actually the barrier that's keeping me from doing the thing? And that usually helps me get to the bottom of what it is quicker, and it allows me to either change paths, either I learn more about myself and I realize that's not actually something that is interesting to me. For example, I used to be really mean to myself when I wasn't able to stick to my diet. Lo and behold, I figured out that at that point in time, fat loss was actually not a priority for me. Once I finally accepted that fat loss in that moment in time was not a priority for me and that I was completely in the control of the situation, I was able to prepare for a fat loss phase and become ready for a fat loss phase more quickly. Does that make sense? So I was willing to accept the current situation that I was in, what it is that I actually wanted, let go, right, of trying to make things happen the way that I wanted it to happen. Like, no, I'm letting it flow, bro. There's a natural flow, a rhythm to life. Yeah, play with the idea that what we are feeling is guiding us. Then make a decision, observed, collect data to use for the next time I make a decision, and then make a better decision next time. So if you're anything like me and you got really good at ignoring your body's hunger signals, you got really good at ignoring any time that your body needed rest. Basically, you stopped knowing how to hear and listen for your body's and your emotions' innate wisdom, just because that's how we were conditioned. We witnessed our parents do it, so we do it too. It's going to take some time before you start to trust what you're actually feeling. So for a time, I didn't trust when my body needed rest, especially like for training days. And I would feel a lot of guilt and shame when I missed a session. Now, when I miss sessions or when I kind of play life by ear, I don't feel that guilt. I don't feel that shame because I know who I am and I trust who I am and I trust my body's wisdom, So some weeks I'll train 3 times a week. Some weeks I'll train 5 and I'll just trust that that's what I needed on that week. And because I don't feel that intense guilt and shame, I'm able to get right back to business. Instead of that guilt and that shame sabotaging me and me convincing myself that, God, see, why did I even try? Like, I suck. I only went to 3 sessions this week and using that to fuel my reasoning for quitting. Now it doesn't. Now I just flow right back in and you know what I mean? And you keep flowing. And it's important to note, no single decision will revolutionize your lives. A single missed workout is not going to be the reason why you can't lose weight, babes. It just isn't. A single piece of cake is not going to be the reason, babes. And the quicker you come you face reality, the quicker we're going to get somewhere together. Stressing over our body image, if you haven't noticed, is indeed a stressor in the bod, babe. So if you're experiencing right now a lot of anxiety around food, a lot of control, a lot of tightness, resistance. If you're feeling resistance towards calorie counting, if you're feeling resistance towards stepping on the scale, if you're feeling any type of intense emotion attached to your self-worth around your body, training, the food that you're eating, calorie counting, your body is feeling that stress, babes, and you're working against what you're trying to accomplish. The moment I realized that freaking out over the scale was contributing to my inability to stick to a plan, my inability to flow into it, and that stress was causing my bloating, my water retention, was causing my fluctuation in the scale, but I relaxed so quick. I started learning how to manage my stress so quick. So if that's what you needed to hear to get you to help yourself, that freaking out over the daily scale fluctuations is a large contributor to why you're struggling to lose fat, let that be all you take away from this video, okay? Keeping in mind that my stress and my bad days have not gone away. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm sitting here in front of you and I'm Buddha or I'm Gandhi. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I've learned some things and I've picked up some tools along the way that have made me a lot better at noticing those feelings and letting them go. So I don't not have bad body image days. I get them too, but they no longer rule my days. It no longer fucks up my entire day. You know what I mean? I'm able to accept that emotion, let it pass through me, move on with my day. Bada bing, bada boom. I wake up the next day, lo and behold, I feel better in my body. Or also attaching bad body image days to your cycle. You'll find patterns, bitch. I know, like literally when I'm having a bad body image day, I'll check my flow. I'll check my period tracker and I'm like, oh, makes sense. Flow is right around the corner. I know this was a lot. Please feel free to take what serves you and leave what doesn't. If there was anything that I said that resonated with you, take it. Put it in your back pocket. Use it later. And if there was anything that offended you, or if you're like, bro, that's not my truth, let it not be your truth, and that's okay too. Accept what it is that you're feeling. So yeah, just walk away from this video. Don't freak out. Don't stress about the fact that you're stressing, right? Like we have a tendency to do that. It's like, fuck, I've been stressing this whole time. And then you like stress yourself out about the fact that you're stressing. Chill. Simply begin noticing the stressors in your life. Where do they come up for you? What stories is your stress telling you about who you are, your identity, the role that people play in your life? Ask yourself what is in your control in terms of managing your stress and what is out of your control. You might be shocked at what you find. You might also be pissed off about what you find. You might have a struggle initially to accept what you found. I know for me, accepting that I hated my degree, I was a stubborn bitch. I was a prideful bitch. I won't lie. I have a very big ego and I love being smart and I love being good at things and I love being right. Like changing my degree for me was such a hit to my ego and it took me way longer than it needed to for me to accept that and move on from it and get better at this other thing that I do now that I'm really good at. Which by the way, to this day, I have a fear that maybe one day I'm going to wake up and no longer be interested in this other thing that I've attached my identity to, which is health and fitness. And that still freaks me out. So see, I still have more work to do. Don't we all? That's everything for today's video. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you can take something from this, and I hope this gives you hope that maybe the stress in your life isn't the problem. Maybe you are, bitch. And what a great problem to have, because we are in control of how we perceive our stress. So at first that might piss you off, but then maybe you'll start to soften into it and maybe you'll start to appreciate it like I did. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please send it to someone that you think might also benefit from this information. Subscribe if you're into that. And don't forget to click that little notification bell so you never miss another video from yours truly ever again. Bitch. Bye.